You're listening to the Clutter Fairy Weekly, a weekly webcast and podcast brought to you by the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas. If you'd like to participate in one of our live webcasts, please visit cfhou.com/weekly. You'll find a calendar of upcoming webcasts, as well as instructions for joining the Zoom meeting via the app or by phone. We'd love to see you. That URL again is cfhou.com/weekly. Now here's the weekly episode. Enjoy.
Hi, Clutter Fairy fans. This is the Clutter Fairy Weekly for August 19th, 2025. I'm your co-host, Ed Gumnick, and I'm speaking with Gayle Goddard, certified professional organizer and owner of the Clutter Fairy in Houston, Texas.
Hi, everybody. The Clutter Fairy Weekly is the webcast and podcast that digs deep into the clutter that piles up between you and the life that you want to be living. We explore the habits and behaviors that lead to clutter, and we suggest strategies to slow the accumulation, reduce the collection, and comfortably manage the stuff we decide to keep.
If you're new to our Zoom meeting, we want to let you know that you can share your comments and questions via the chat, and I'll try to make sure Gayle addresses them before we move on to another topic. You can also use the raise hand feature if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment yourself via audio or video. And we are streaming the webcast live on Facebook, so you can share your questions and comments there, and I'll relay them to Gayle. Let's start by talking about last week's weekly tittle, which was called Think Ahead. The assignment was to explore the question of how your space and belongings can better support your goals and dreams for the remaining years of your life. Let's hear from our participants in Zoom and on Facebook who worked on a plan for the future of your space this week. Please let us know in the comments. YouTube viewer Nata shared her plans in a comment. Nata writes, I'm starting to go through my house 1 to 2 years out. I have about 6 empty large totes that I use mostly for moving plants to my cabin. Knowing the size of my cabin and living space allows me to figure out what can go into the container or what things need to be traded out, but then also what things I have to let go of. In order to keep myself motivated, every month I go through the house and I do a sweep. An average of 4 boxes a month are going out of my house. I've stopped buying books completely and will only use free library trade routes, so I'm not adding to my book collection. Every time I buy something, I think about, can I use this in 2 years when I retire? And if the answer is no, then I don't buy.
I am so proud of you for being so proactive about your prep work, and filtering your purchases against needing something in retirement 2 years from now is really brilliant. Now is the time to thin out your things, and that includes not adding to the stuff in the house. So just like during any kind of a move, you don't want to go buying, go on a buying spree, because it's just more things to pack up and it complicates the move. When you're heading for a transition from one living situation to another, managing your buying during that time is a restraint that serves you in the long run. Once the transition has taken place and you're settled in the new phase of your life, then you can start buying again with your new environment in mind if you need something. Better to postpone that shopping for new things while you're making a change, and you're reducing your own burden by holding off until later. So she's doing a great job. We're all super proud of you. Go, not a go. I think you're doing a great job on that. I was really impressed with your answer. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that coming up with the question, will I use this
2 years from now in
retirement? 2 years from now in retirement. That's a great standard, a great algorithm for keeping your shopping on point.
Right, and being ruthless about it too. Like the idea that you would still have it 2 years from now, and also, does it make sense in retirement versus what's going on for me now, really helps thin down what you end up buying. That's a lot of parameters. It's a lot of markers to hit before it's a yes. And so that really does corral what you're bringing in the interim period before you're trying to make a move. So good job.
Also, as a former book addict myself,
right?
I'm still a book addict. I'm just not.
Right.
I'm just not addicted to the physical items as I once was. Good job, Nada, on setting the boundaries on your reading that way. Um,
Mm-hmm.
that was I think a lot of book lovers are really reluctant to consider downsizing the library or eliminating the library or shifting the library to digital or, some solution to reduce the volume of books in your space.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, you're going to have to do that, or you're going to leave behind a huge book problem for someone else to solve for you. And so
Mm.
you have to start thinking about it at some point. What can I at least admit I'm never going to read my, you know, collection of Stephen King ever again, or
Right. Read it once, we're done.
right,
Right. Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of people with book collections have a hard time right sizing it for retirement. And they're uniquely heavy and take up lots of space and volume, right?
right, right. Yeah, it's not that I have any objection to physical books at all,
Mm,
and to people owning them. It's you are keeping yourself, you're creating a real physical problem for yourself in having to manage a lot of heavy books.
man, and they just get heavier the older you get. Isn't that
They
the truth?
certainly do.
Oh my
Eventually you
God.
eventually you start looking for, like boxes that are about this big that will hold 3 books. You have to have like 1,000 tiny little boxes to move your books in.
Right? I'm thinking of the client that has a whole bunch of coffee table books. Like she collects the books that weigh 50 pounds a piece and they're like really large and wide. And I can't pick up more than one at a time. Like when I'm picking up a wad of paperbacks, I can pick up six. But when I'm trying to pick up these coffee table books, I'm like, I have to use both hands to pick the things up and move them around. It slows down the process immensely when I can only handle one at a time. Yeah, heavy. They get heavier the older you get. That is for sure.
Linda says, I've been reading the survey responses and finding that so helpful. Thanks so much to everyone who shared such insightful remarks and to Gail and Ed for coordinating all of that.
Right?
Um, I also this we got so many great responses to the survey that we put out, last week in preparation for last week's show and this show.
Mm.
And I really encourage people to go read what other people have written. You can get to that at cfhou.com/results267. I just if for go take a look, because if for no other reason than hearing that other people are dealing with the same issues,
Are in the same
are
boat,
in the
are
same
having the
boat,
same
learn
responses.
reading other people's reactions to how they're dealing with all the clutter implications of aging might make you
Mm.
feel a little better
It's
about what you're
100%
going
true.
through.
You're not alone, and the survey makes that really clear.
Let's
Absolutely.
see. Jacqueline says, my clothing all fit comfortably in my closet and drawers, but I knew I had pieces that I don't wear. So I made another pass through my wardrobe and found quite a few items to let go of. I am sending a bag to ThreadUp to resell, and I have a bag to donate. I also have a bag full of hangers to get rid of.
There you go. Good job. And all that did was make it easier for you to move maneuver in your closet. So, congrats on that. That is a great thing to do. And women, we like to have our clothes. We like to have lots of options. We like to hold clothing against I'm going to be a different size someday. I'm going to be able to wear that again. I remember how fabulous that was. We have our closets are their own black hole that require attention. And so good for you for facing it and doing something about it.
Okay, Ginger gave us a very detailed tittle report for the Think Ahead tittle. She said,
Okay.
activities I'd like to spend more time doing in the coming years: genealogy, continue researching and writing our family history;
Mm.
to traveling for genealogy and to spend time with family. And then asked, then on the question of or the assignment to make a list of things you'd hope or expect to spend less time doing. She says cleaning. I will hire a regular cleaning service. 2, decluttering beyond maintenance, because she
Mm.
will have reached the point where she's not going to have to.
Yay.
And she said, and then for specific changes needed to downside or move, we need to get rid of a heck of a lot of tools. rehome barnyard animals,
Oh,
and she's
indeed.
started working on that.
Okay, cool.
There's more. I'm not going to share all of it because I want to get to some more, but she's got a Ginger, as usual, has a great and detailed plan.
She's been working it.
Yeah.
Well, and the people that might take the barnyard animals might also be interested in the tools. I'm just thinking
I
those
do want to
things exist in the same universe. So,
share one more. She said biggest obstacles to downsize or move, reluctance to leave. We love our home of 43 years.
yeah, I get it. And specifically because 43 years in the same place means that you have muscle memory about where everything is and how everything works and where you have to lift your foot and where you have to go find the band-aids, and it's like it's all so memorized and you don't even have to think about it, and you're gonna have to completely disrupt that whole matrix in order to go someplace new, and that is hard. It's definitely an adjustment, but it's something that you want to do while you can go and relearn a new place, right? If you wait too late, you get moved and you don't have time to the relearn the new layout so that you have new muscle memory about where you are. You have to do that before you've sort of broken down, right? Before your mind isn't recording anymore, or your memory is shot or whatever. And so it's important to try to make that shift or sooner rather than later. Good
Paula
luck.
said, Paula says, I continued sorting through photos and tossed out hundreds.
Yay.
One more
Those
album to go
doubles went
through.
out those doubles went out the door.
Um, Jane says, this was a great topic. I had developed a list of activities I wanted to do in retirement. It was helpful referring back to that and considering what I want to focus on now.
Mm,
Things related to activities I've already done and or that I've decided I don't want to do can go.
right? It's time to update the list. Good for you. I'm sure that there's all kinds of things that the 20-year younger version of you thought you'd be able to do in retirement, and maybe you aren't going to be able to do in retirement. So, there's always some filtering to be done at the end for where you are now. So, good for you.
M says, the irony about books is once one retires, one actually has time to read all those books.
Right? It's true. So then you have to filter, read it and donate, read it, donate, read and donate. It
Right. Or,
becomes consume and discard
yeah.
to thin your collection.
And set a new standard for what gets kept.
Yeah, how much you keep.
Yeah. Ginger says, I downsize books in phases. A lot of self-help books went first, then
Mm.
biographies, then unscrutinized authors.
There you go. You can do it in categories too. That works.
Let's see. Okay, we should probably get on to our main topic because we still had a lot left over from last week
Yeah.
and more survey results that came in this week that we want to touch on. So to remind everybody what we're talking about today, the effects of aging can add significant challenges to the work of managing our clutter. But decluttering and organizing our spaces yields lots of benefits for older people, such as greater ease of movement, improved safety, and increased mental clarity. Today, we're going to continue our discussion of ways in which aging complicates organizing efforts and the many benefits of reducing our stuff to stay ahead of the aging curve.
So we're back for round two after you all jumped on the survey last week. We've also gotten lots of comments from the video that we posted saying that you really appreciated this topic. I'm really glad that you enjoyed the discussion. And that's why we're back this week with more of your survey responses. And so, are we going to start with question 3
Yeah,
today?
let's go to question three
Okay.
because
All right.
we only talked about
We
one
didn't get that far
response to
last
that
time.
one.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
question three from the survey was describe ways in which you'd like for your space and belongings to better support your goals and dreams for the next years of your life. And we gave examples. I've started using a cane, so I need to make sure my apartment has clear pathways and no tripping hazards. Um, Another example was now that I'm retired, I'd like to give more space to my hobbies and crafts. And then another was I plan to downsize from a 3-bedroom townhome to a small apartment on the ground floor. So let's talk about some of your responses. Phyllis said, I want to clear the clutter so that I don't spend the rest of my life dealing with it. I want to have freedom and time to travel, volunteer, work on crafts, and enjoy more time with friends.
I think that's a wonderful goal. Get that clutter behind you and move on to the things that you enjoy. And the truth is, if the project is big and it's going to take a lot of time, maybe you are going to end up splitting your time between decluttering and some other things to have fun. But I think a little bit of effort up now yields you a lot of free time later. And so um, it is a finite collection, and you just have to get your way through it. And anything that you can do to recruit help or get support along the way to make it go faster, I think it'd be a good investment to get you onto your freedom to travel and volunteer and work on crafts. And so aim for it and get it done. You're right.
Several people answered with responses along that theme of, I don't want to spend the rest of my life dealing with it. And
Mm,
what that made me think of was, that clutter is like this debt hanging over your head,
yes.
and
Yes. That's a great analogy. You got to pay it
just,
off.
yeah, just like with debt, you don't want to get close to the finish line, still dragging this stuff with you, this
Mm-hmm.
excess of stuff along with you.
100%.
Patty says, I want no excess clutter to clean or manage. I
Mm.
want to know exactly what I own and where each thing is stored. I don't want to waste precious brain power on unnecessary things.
Again, a very laudable goal. We don't want to waste precious brain power on unnecessary things. I love that. I love that sentence so much. It's like, I only have so much brain power. I don't want to waste it on dealing with clutter or trying to find stuff. Like, let's know where everything is and not have to think about it. And I really love that is because that's like completely freeing you up and freeing up your brain space and your brain power for doing completely different things that are enjoyable and fun to you, things that bring you joy and make your life better. And you don't need to be worrying about where the stuff is. And so, um, setting your house up to make that something that you don't waste any of your brain power on, I think that's a really great goal.
Well, and especially as your, if your capacities, if your brain power has diminished in any way, and
Mm-hmm.
even people who aren't experiencing any dramatic cognitive decline, the memory gets a
Yeah,
little less reliable
it gets a little Swiss
for
cheesy,
all of us, I
right?
think.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that that goal of, I want to know exactly what I own and where everything is stored,
Mm,
it's going to be a lot of help to you in the future.
yeah, exactly. Makes it less things you got to recall.
Okay, a user who identified herself as "if not now, when" replied, I keep a journal. That is, I kind of do, and then life gets busy. But on every New Year's resolution, I've entered lose weight, get fit, and give away the junk. I mean, going back decades. Am I to the point that I'll allow myself the luxury to hire help? Old voices say I personally should be able to keep house and then have the freedom to do what I want. What if I've waited too long? What would be wrong with acknowledging that and helping another woman in a different stage of life feed her family, say, and hire her to help me?
Absolutely nothing. Hire the help and achieve this goal that has been on your goals list for many years. What a relief when you don't have to write this goal anymore on your New Year's resolution journal because you've finally gotten it done. If it's been there for decades, it must be important to you. And I think that makes it worth the investment in money to make it happen. It's no different than hiring a trainer to help you get fit. You haven't waited too long, and hiring help will get it done so much faster than you could do even alone on by yourself. So I would say consider it a goal that you find important and consider it worth the money because of that, because you will get a result that you have wanted for a long time, and you can get it much faster with help than you can without help. And so don't begrudge yourself having spent the money, and get the house down to something that you do feel like you can keep up with and that does make you feel like you have control of it. And then you don't have to write that on your New Year's resolution list, and you'll be thrilled.
Stop writing and stop having to write down, give away the junk.
Yes.
Okay, Sandra says, since having to use a cane or walker, I am acutely aware that I need to clear out for mobility and safety.
Especially since you're so concerned about it, you're a perfect candidate to pay for help to achieve it, since maneuvering around on a walker makes the physical part of decluttering a struggle. Time to hire in the big guns, a professional organizer, and let them do the physical work for you and get you to a place where you feel safe maneuvering in the walker. And again, a perfectly reasonable way to spend money to support your life and make your life safer and more comfortable. And so, if you're feeling uncomfortable about it, if you're feeling unsafe in any way, and you're respecting the fact that the walker and your ability to walk is changing the landscape, your ability to navigate the landscape, then having someone come, it also changes your ability to do the work to declutter in some ways too. It makes it harder. So, paying someone to come and help you fix that so that then you have those clear pathways and you can feel comfortable about it, totally worth the money and totally worth your own peace of mind to feel like I can maneuver around in my walker. I'm not going to trip. I'm not going to fall. I'm not going to take out something in the house by accident. So totally worth the money to get the help for that. And I think it's absolutely something that you should be aiming for just because you feel nervous about it. If you feel uncomfortable already, then whatever you do to make yourself feel comfortable again is worth it.
Can you talk a little bit about Tracy asked, what would an ad to look for that help be sound like? Or can you talk just a little bit about various ways to get help? I mean, obviously,
Sure.
you could start with go to NAPO.net, which is the
Mm-hmm.
National Association of Productivity and help me out.
Organizing professionals.
Thank you. I couldn't get it all. NAPO, NAPO.net has a resource you can use to search for a professional organizer, a NAPO professional organizer in your area. You can
In
search
your town, yeah.
by
Mm-hmm.
town or zip code
Mm-hmm.
and find people who are near you. But do you have any thoughts on
Yes.
if
So
there's
if you live somewhere besides the United States, lots of countries have their own organizing national association. England has
APTO?
APDO, APDO, and there's there's one in Japan, there's one in Australia, there's one like they're everywhere. So you just have to Google or professional organizer and say your city name. So in Houston, I would say professional organizer Houston to get people who are advertising their services to do that and to also find the national association. So if you'd rather go through a national association in your country, I'm sure you can find one. So that wasn't always true, but there's a lot of local organizers organizing associations now. Back in the day, we were the first ones, but back in the day, it's been 40 years. So there's a lot more out there now, and you can find people locally all over the world now, which is great. There's one in China. There's a big one in China. So wherever you are, you can find help, and you really want to ask for a professional organizer because they're going to come with the skills to plan a project and understand the steps and the stages. There are people that say they do organizing and they're not particularly trained in, like they can move stuff around, but they're not trained in the project management part of the process. Like they don't understand what to do and what order to get there. And so you may have other people help. You may have what I think of as subcontractors. If the organizer's in place and they may ask for other help or bring their own secondary people to help. So you may need some extra physical labor depending on what kinds of stuff you're trying to deal with. But
Junk
that's
hauling, for
yeah,
example?
yeah, exactly. But an organizer is going to be able to recognize those needs and they're also going to have resources for finding them. They're going to have resources for donating things away. So there's all, that point person is like the contractor for an organizing project. and they have so many resources to bring to the table. And so it's totally worth letting that person come and help you.
Okay, let's go on. Yvonne says, I will be retiring in 5 to 9 years, depending on financial situation and where my kids are in their lives. And I plan on downsizing. I live in a 3-story, 3,000 square foot Victorian
Ooh,
home. My husband and I will need less possessions for sure. Now is a great time to start getting rid of stuff before we get to a point where it becomes an overwhelming burden.
absolutely. Do it now while you've got the stamina so you can walk into retirement ready to have fun nonstop and not worry about your house. And the truth is, if you are starting a decade out, that means that you can concentrate on all the things like here's the closet full of stuff that we only get out once a year. Here's the massive amounts of Christmas decorations that we have. Here's the bedroom that is the guest room that we stash all of the furniture that we inherited from somebody else. And so you can recognize that if you downsize from 3,000 square feet, you're going to lose bedrooms, you're going to lose bathrooms, you're going to lose storage. And so concentrating on extra bedrooms, extra bathrooms, and all the storage areas is part of the way that you prepare for that downsizing because you're not going to have smaller versions of everything in a 3,000 square foot house. You're going to lose
Right.
whole rooms in the process. And so you're not going to have three bedrooms. You're probably going to have one and maybe two if you're lucky. You're not going to have a whole bunch of walk in closets. You're going to have one walk in closet in the main bedroom. And then every other closet in the house is going to be small and there's not going to be that many of them. And you can get yourself ready for that by go walk through somebody that you know that lives in a smaller place. Find somebody that lives in 1,000 square feet or 1,200 square feet and go walk around and look at their house and open the closets and look how much storage space there is or isn't. So that you recognize there's not going to be a separate utility room, maybe. There's just going to be a closet with stacking washer and dryer in it. Those kinds of things that you get used to, sort of breathing room and extra separate rooms for stuff in a 3,000 square foot house is going to evaporate when you downsize. And so go on a couple of tours, go see some of the capacities that are there. And so that you can tell, oh, this kitchen is a quarter the size of my kitchen right now. That means I got to get rid of 75% of the contents in order to make it fit. And it'll help you see your belongings through the end result instead of the current result. And it'll help you filter faster.
Someone mentioned the idea of hiring you to do a virtual session, and I
Mm.
had a question privately asking about you don't do a free initial virtual session, but somebody can call you on the phone and
Yeah,
talk
yeah.
to
If
you
they
about
want
it.
to talk about the project a little bit and find out if they think it would work that way, yeah, I'm happy to discuss the
Yeah,
project and the
do
parameters. That's
a
not a problem at all.
free consult by phone.
Yeah, yeah, just to talk about it.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, let's go on. Donna says what she's aiming for is having the freedom to just pack a bag and go on an adventure rather than feel like I have to do housework or take care of things. The ability to have more spontaneity.
Spontaneity is a good thing. And there's lots of adventures in being spontaneous. So, what a great way to spend your time rather than fretting about the state of the house. If it's easy to take care of, then packing and going without a plan is easy and you can go guilt-free with no house worries. I think the idea of freeing up your mind, what you're describing is, I don't want to be feeling guilty that I left my house in a state that I think is inappropriate while I go have fun. And so, you know what? Get your house down to something where you never have to feel guilty about it. And it's easy to reset, and then you can have your spontaneous moment of grab and go. And why not? Because you're retired and you should be having fun.
Let's see. Tonya says, I would like my house to be clutter free for my 60th birthday in November.
Mm.
It will be the first time in my life since I got married more than 35 years ago.
So, if it's really been 35 years since you feel like the house was clutter free, then getting it complete between August and November is a fairly ambitious task. Instead, I'd aim for getting your priority spaces clutter free first. Then you can celebrate your 60th and your new areas and get back to the remaining spaces afterwards. I don't want you to feel like I now have this great goal and I am going to shove it into the next 3 months, 2.5 months, 3 months, right? Like it's not a lot of time to deal with a, a space that you've lived in for 35 years. So aim for some specific rooms that you want to clear up first and let those be the goal before your birthday. And then you can circle back afterwards.
Now, we
Keep,
don't know how long ago Tonya started on this particular goal. So,
mm,
if you set it on your last birthday and you see,
and you've been working on
that
all
and
this time.
you've made 75% of the progress you were hoping to make, then you're on track.
Right, right, right.
But don't I think I guess the point you're trying to make is don't set a goal that is so ambitious that it renders you unable to
Or
meet it.
make you or make you feel like you failed if you didn't
Makes you
get there, right?
discourages you
Yeah, yeah,
unnecessarily.
yeah. Because everything you get done is one less thing you have to do. So we just want you to aim for uh, some targets that make you have some success and feel like you can celebrate and then come back again because, we got to celebrate all the way through. We can't wait till the very, very end.
Right. Okay, Sandra says, I want to avoid a house full of things that come with daily, weekly, or monthly maintenance tasks. That to me is freedom, something that is not achievable when you have a busy family and work life.
It's definitely much harder with family and work life. It can be done with participation of all the family members and rigorous organizing systems. Avoiding a household of things that come with maintenance tasks is a great target to aim for. Even if you can't get it perfect, you can move the needle towards it. So you can make changes that lessen your burden, and striving towards that target will improve your space and your experience of living in it. So it's definitely a good goal to aim for. And we hope you get there. We hope you get to your freedom.
Well, I think that I think it's a great point that Sandra makes about things that come with maintenance tasks.
Mm-hmm.
All of our stuff has some degree of maintenance. At the very least, we have to there everything accumulates dust.
Yes.
So we have to dust surfaces, we have to dust anything sitting out on a surface.
Wipe things down.
And I think that the overhead of that maintenance gets to be a bigger and bigger and bigger factor as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have the time to dust the whole house every week. You don't have the energy.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
and so keeping, you know, just keeping that voice constantly reminding you, do you, do you really want to clean this for the rest of your life?
Do I have to keep dusting this thing or can I let it go?
Yeah.
Right?
Um,
Absolutely.
Ria says, I want a home easy to put right and physically clean myself for as long as I can manage. I
Mm.
also would like to downsize from my two-bedroom single-family home with basement, garage, and an over-ambitious 45-year-old's garden to something smaller. Further decluttering will help with that when the move happens eventually. This will allow me to care for myself, hopefully, as long as possible and give me time to pursue other interests and travel.
I appreciate the point about your garden. You put that garden in when you were 45 and better able to physically deal with the level of work it entailed. Now you need to right size that level of work so it suits your abilities now. This is a perfect example of things evolving over time. What the 45-year-old wanted to do and how much that person wanted to do has evolved into something new now. So you don't want that level of commitment in the garden. Changing it up to suit you now is perfect. It's no disrespect to the garden and the commitment that you had before. It's just an evolving level of interest and focus. It's okay to reevaluate your commitments and your long-term projects and just seeing what is makes sense for you now versus what happened before. And if you're at 70, that means you spent a few decades living with that massive, very evolved, very time consuming garden. And so you have given it your time and attention and reaped the rewards for all that time. And, it's okay for that commitment and reward to shift into something new, into a level that matches who you are now. And so my point is, whatever you right size from what it was to what it is now, you're not disrespecting the work that you did before. You're not diminishing it or declaring it a waste of time. You're just saying, okay, that's how far I was willing to go before, and I'm willing to only go this far now, and that's okay. And I'm sure the garden will still be fabulous, even if it's not super elaborate and a lot of physical work.
Well, I really like this one. I like Ria's answer because, well, she said she referred to the overambitious 45-year-old's garden. So there's a little note of regret that, she bit off more than she could chew 25 years ago
Right,
and
right,
and
right.
has been, has been dealing with it ever since. But she's acknowledging that at 70, she's not the same person who designed and installed that garden,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that's great. It's a reminder to all of us that it's okay to reevaluate your commitments and your long-term projects that you bit off when you were a lot younger and more energetic. It's okay.
Right. And you can still experience gardening in some form. You can still play in the garden like you clearly like to do, but you don't have to do the mowing yourself, for instance, or you don't have to have, 15 beds around the yard in the front and the back that you have to manage. You can dial that way down and put in things that are permanent instead of required constant changing out every season or what, there's those of you that are gardeners know there's ways to scale that stuff down so that it's not the same kind of work for you. And totally, you can stay in the garden, you can still be doing stuff and not be having to spend, you know, hundreds of hours a month in the yard and doing stuff that's physically difficult for you now and makes you come in and groan and have to take aspirin because you've worked too hard. So aiming for a dialed down version is a perfectly reasonable thing to do. I saw the word
Yeah.
container
Yeah, a
gardening go
couple of people have
by,
chimed in. Tina says container gardening. Just
right?
pick beans. Herbs have a pot too. Everything else grows at the grocery store.
Right?
And
There you go.
and Catherine chimed in to say, don't want to work, where to go? Don't want to mow for 6 hours, not including weed whacking or flower garden maintenance.
Right?
And she says 71 agree.
My friend who has a lives at a corner lot, so she has a massive front yard and then still a backyard, and she was using an electric mower for a while, and it couldn't make it all the way through the yard before it would run out of charge, and she'd have to go plug it in again. So it took hours and hours for her to get her yard done on a weekend. And I was like, they make mowers that actually run with gas so that you don't run out of electricity and have to wait. And so I convinced her to do that. And that drastically reduced the amount of time for her to do the yard. And then she inherited a riding mower from her dad because her dad moved and from where he was living across the country. And so we went and picked up this riding mower and drove it home from North Carolina. And now she's like, woohoo, I'm riding the riding mower. And she's like, zip, 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 and it's done. And she's like super thrilled about it. And I don't think she ever would have bought a riding mower for herself, but getting it from her dad made it okay. And now she can rip through that yard like in a big hurry. So she really appreciates that, when there's a large lawn, it does take a long time to mow it. And how you mow it extends that time or doesn't. And so adjusting it so that you could get through it faster, it's a good thing.
Okay, we want to circle back now and talk some more about the other questions on last week's survey, especially question number one, which was we asked our audience to describe ways in which aging has negatively affected your ability, willingness, or desire to declutter or organize your home. And there was so much difficulty, so much pain in the responses that we want to,
Mm,
just dig into some more of them and talk about how to approach these.
okay.
An anonymous respondent said, "I feel like I want to save so many things I have inherited from those who are no longer living. I think I should keep items to preserve their connections and memories for the future. However, it bothers me that after I am gone, there will be no one living who will care about these items. They have no interest in keeping them since they do not hold the meaning for them. It's a problem and a conundrum for me to face. Conundrum for me to face. Trouble with that word.
Right?
I feel that their belongings were precious and I should preserve them since they were collected and saved and are attached to memories of them.
You're describing what's true for anything sentimental. The memories that are attached to the items are in your mind, but not in anyone else's. So the item can transfer to someone new, but the memories don't transfer. So expecting someone to have the same feelings you do about an object is not realistic. We all have our own memories, even of the same event and the same person. So what we remember is never going to go with the object. If someone is interested in an object, it's because they have their own memories of it and not your memories. For example, I often hear a client say, I took that item from my grandmother's house because I always remember it being in her house while I was growing up. They don't have the memories that the grandmother had about the item and the person that they associated the object with. The grandchild has their own memories of seeing that object during their childhood, so they gravitate to the thing for a completely different reason than the grandmother did. It's the nature of things that at some point most of us will no longer be remembered directly, and that's part of the human story. And so all of the sentiment and all those memories that you attach to the objects, they're all in your mind and they're all stories in your head. And it's all associated with what's happening for you in your brain and not anybody else's. And so you may transfer it to them and you may tell them the stories about why you think it's valuable, but they will not have those memories of it. They will only have the memory of your story of it. And so it's not going to be the same for them that it is for you. They may like it aesthetically. They may feel attached to the idea of family history in general and your stories in particular. But even so, they're not remembering it the same way that you are. And so we all have that. We wish people understood why things are important to us, but there's no way to transfer our own emotional attachment to something based on our memories and our experience of it. We can't transfer that to somebody else. And so accepting that that's true and that everybody has their own memories of their own life and their own attachments to things that have nothing to do with you or the people that came before you is it goes a long way for you to filter those sentimental things easier when you recognize that the fact that you feel something about it just can't be transferred to the next person and accepting that that's just the truth because they have their own sets of memories. I find that parents particularly have problems with this about they have things that the kids played with when they were little or the artwork they did when they were little or whatever they were doing when they were little kids, and you were an adult when you experienced those situations and that experience and received that artwork and bought that object and saw that stuffed toy they played with. You have lots of memories around it. But the little kid's brain wasn't even working enough to record anything yet. So they don't remember it. They don't remember it all. They just have to take your word for it. Oh, you play with this all the time. Okay, mom, I believe you. But they don't, a lot of times they don't have very many memories around it. And so parents always save things because the kids are going to want to have the stuffed animal that they hugged for the first 4 years of their life. Like, no, they won't because they don't remember it. You had an adult brain in that situation, and they had a little kid brain in that situation. So they weren't hardly even recording. So, it's hard. You just can't expect your experience and even your very visceral, very important, very anchoring experiences in your mind, those memories that are so valuable and so vivid, you can't transfer them. They don't go away from
Yeah.
you. They are for you only.
Yeah. I mean, unless you want to sit down with people and tell them the stories about what makes this important to you. I mean, it's still not going to transfer your experience,
Mm,
but it'll either kindle something in them that creates some
becomes their
interest,
new
and
memory.
then they're, maybe they will want to take this thing off your hands at some point, or it doesn't, but at least you've shared the story, and then you have to decide how long you want to keep this thing, or be prepared to accept that it's just going to get hauled off as junk at some point.
Well, and while it's yours and while you're sentimental about it, it's important to you, and that value is important to everybody. Everybody
Yeah,
likes having things that remind them of other people and other times of their lives, and we find that enriching in our lives. But to expect that enrichment to pass to others is not realistic.
yeah.
So you have to love it while you have it, and then you have to release it as a blank thing out into the world after you're done with it, because it's not your memories, and your emotional attachment is not going to transfer, and it just becomes an object again when it goes on to the next person, and that's okay. You've lived with it, you've loved it, you've let it be an anchor in time and space for that set of memories and that person, and so it's served its purpose for you, and you can release it and let somebody else, lay new memories over the top of it.
Okay, Barbara says, I have less energy to work on clutter, and since I moved to a retirement community, there are always more attractive activities beckoning.
Isn't that great?
I did the major downsizing, but there's still some time-intensive projects that I managed to avoid.
Barbara, after a major downsizing, I'm guessing you were wiped out. Anybody that's done a move knows how wiped out you are afterwards. It's okay to enjoy your new community for a bit and take a well deserved break from all the hard work you did to get there. It's hard to focus when you don't have a looming deadline to push you along, but you can get back into your decluttering in a different rhythm than you used before. Just make a slower plan to work on those remaining time intensive projects while still participating in your community. When you feel rested again, book some shorter work slots each week for your outstanding projects. No need to push so hard. Just start short work sessions to get yourself going along, moving along, and just keep chipping away at it until you get them done. There's not a race anymore because you don't have to, I got to get it done by the move date.
Right.
So that pressure comes off. So you can just adopt the I'm going to work on these time intensive projects. I'm going to chip away at them. Eventually they will run down and be complete. And and in the meantime, you can go do those things that are beckoning you to go have fun, right? And think of it as I'm going to do an hour of work and then I'm going to go do something fun. I'm going to do an hour here and I'm going to go do that thing out with the group. You can intersperse a little bit of work between having a lot of fun. And I think that's perfectly reasonable for where you are right now. And eventually those things will be done.
Okay, let's go on to Anita O, who says, willingness. I've made lots of progress, but I still resist scheduling consistent time toward clutter projects because I want to prioritize being with family, volunteer service, and other aspects of life that bring me joy. I either make time if I'm inspired, in quotes, to work on an area to ease its use or appearance, or short term if I guilt myself into getting busy on collections I don't want to leave to my heirs to sort out.
I think most of our viewers are sorting out collections because they don't want to leave it to an heir to handle. The motivation is not about negatively impacting those who have to deal with it when we're gone. And guilt works when nothing
You
else does.
swap those words. The motivation is about not negatively impacting.
Oh, I did. It's
Yeah, yeah,
about
yeah.
not negatively impacting. Yeah, I mean, you're trying to not leave them a burden, and in not leaving them a burden is a guilt trip that works for everybody. I think, when you start thinking about your kids and their families, or your siblings that have to come behind you and clear out, or a stranger that has to come when you are the last one standing and you have to hire somebody, or somebody's going to come behind and deal with it, and you don't want to leave a big hassle for them to mess with. And so I think that guilt works, and so, let the guilt work in shorter increments, and do it more frequently, and be booking those appointments to I need to assuage my guilt by moving forward on this project. Let that work for you. It's totally true.
Okay, let's finish up the episode on a positive note and talk a little more about question number two, which was describe ways in which getting older has positively affected your ability, willingness, or desire to declutter or
Mm,
organize your home. And we got a lot of great answers here too. Um, an anonymous respondent, this is the third one on the list there, Gail,
okay.
said, I kn number one, I know enough to hire help, and I'm really good at using that help. Two, I'm willing to let past lives, past dreams, past expectations go. Three, I'm living in a much smaller space, so there's lots less to deal with daily. And four, I'm in a less is more mentality without a shred of self-pity. The things I choose to keep are the A-list items.
Really, I love that description. So she's got
Yeah,
4 points there, so I'm going to talk about all of them. So uh, the things she chooses to keep are the A-list items. I think that's her version of we're saving the cream of the crop because you don't want to be living with a bunch of stuff that isn't the cream of the crop. And it's the best if you keep the things that are the most important to you, you're letting go of a whole bunch of excess and you still retain all the things that are the most special to you. And that's important. It's great that you are considering hiring help and you're happy to use that. I think a lot of people, and somebody said this earlier too in one of the things that we read, the idea of if I hire help, I should be able to do this myself. Why should I hire help? It's like, well, because you can, because you got to this stage in your life where you've been saving money and you've been working hard, and this is the time in your life when you reap the reward of having done all that hard work. And one of those rewards is you have money and you pay for help, so you don't have to do the work at the same level. And so it's absolutely part of the reward of retirement is that instead of saving money, you start spending the money on things that you need. And so this is why you did all that work all those years. This is why you've accumulated your money so that you can live your life in your retirement in a comfortable way. And having somebody come and help you is part of that comfort.
yeah. And even if all you can afford is a helper to haul stuff off for you, if you have a small
Mm-hmm.
budget, you can still use that time effectively. And that's this person said, I'm really good at using that help.
Right. And how whatever that help looks like, or whether you have to recruit help for free from somewhere else, or you hire, $5 an hour, you go on to TaskRabbit and hire somebody to come and do some work for you. And whatever you can do to support yourself is totally worth it at this point. She says, I'm living a less is more mentality without a shred of self-pity. I think that that's a great way to look at it. That less is more. It only makes your life more comfortable and easy to manage. It makes it easy for you to manage and live in a smaller space by having less there so that you don't feel crowded in the small space, and yet you still have things, can find things, and you can manage and maintain what's there. And so live less is more. You've spent a bunch of your life living with more. Now you can spend part of your life living with less. And it doesn't have to be a negative thing that you're living with less. It can be an adjustment that you're making for your own comfort, for your own safety, for your own peace of mind, so that you can turn your mind away from managing the stuff and onto having fun. And so, the other point that she makes about, I'm assuming is a she, forgive me. The other point that's being made is I'm willing to let past lives and past dreams and past expectations go. And I think we can choose to say, oh, I didn't accomplish that, or oh, had so much fun doing that in the past, or oh, that was a goal that I had and I made it, and it wasn't it great that I made it. So you have the seasons of your life that have already gone by, and you can look at the new season of your life and say, what do I want to get out of this season of life? Whatever went before and whatever I have or haven't accomplished or gotten done or experienced or lived with has gone by. And now I'm standing here in this moment. And what do I want to aim for and project towards in the future? And being able to focus on, yeah, that stuff's in the past. And now I'm here. And how do I want this part of my life to be better, enriching, fun for me, rewarding, and all of that can be brand new expectations, brand new goals, brand new dreams. Whatever came before came and went, happened or didn't happen, and you're standing in this moment now, looking forward and hopefully focusing on how you can be in that space today in joy and fulfillment. And we all like to be in that place and aiming for that, no matter where you are coming from, no matter what resources you have, no matter how your physical health is. What can you do to be being in a space of joy and fulfillment right now is a great focus, and hopefully will help you dream bigger and and get stuff out of the way to achieve those dreams.
Okay, let's leave it there. Let's talk about
Okay.
next week. Next week's topic is inspired actually by a comment from Carrie in response to the survey from 2 weeks ago. Carrie says, "When I am ready to let something go, sometimes my family want to keep it." So we're going to talk about this is going to be an episode about other people who complicate your desire to declutter and organize.
Mm,
We're going to talk about the ones who make effective allies and the ones who stand in your way or try to negate your progress,
mm-hmm.
and strategies to keep your project moving with help or in spite of the lack of help.
despite interference.
Right.
Yep.
So join us next week. That's Tuesday, August 26th at the usual time. Gayle, why don't you give us the weekly tittle?
Sure. This week's title is Dream Ahead. This week's assignment is to envision the safe, beautiful, decluttered space where you'll live your life in the future. If you didn't already explore last week's Think Ahead tittle, give it a read at cfhou.com/tcfw267 and reflect on at least the rudiments of a plan for how your space and belongings are going to support your goals and dreams for the next years of your life. Write down a few statements to describe your life in the decluttered space you're working to create. As a starting point, answer these questions. What will be different about how you spend your time? What new or refreshed opportunities will be available to you? What problems or issues will you have solved? What positive feelings or emotional states will your space invoke? Excuse me. Save this vision statement so you can return to it from time to time to help keep focus on your goals. So that's really actually, I accidentally circled back to the tittle from what I was saying earlier, which is, imagine what your life is going to be like and what you want to be doing and what kind of um, things will be behind you and what kinds of things will be in front of you for the new version, this new edition of your life. Write it down and come back and tell us about it next week.
All right. If you're watching this on YouTube, we would love for you to join us live. To get notifications about upcoming events, we invite you to join the meetup group by visiting cfhou.com/meetup. You can also follow us on Facebook by visiting cfhou.com/Facebook, or join our mailing list by visiting cfhou.com/subscribe. We love to hear from you, so please keep your questions, comments, and topic suggestions coming on Facebook, YouTube, or anywhere that you find us. You can always reach us through the website at clutterfairyhouston.com.
Thanks for everybody joining us. We appreciate you being so active in the survey so that we actually had 2 shows worth of commentary to make about it based on all of your great results. I remind you to go and if you haven't gone and look at the results from the surveys, go check them out. You will find them very enjoyable and relatable, I'm sure. All right. Thank you guys. Good to see you. Bye.
Bye.